Hello everyone in CSC-121 Graphical Python Programming. The purpose of this lecture is to get you up to speed on how to create a what we would call in Microsoft land a bound data grid. In Qt, it's called a table view. So very powerful and not much work to use this to allow your users to see the data and change it in your database. So first we'll create this user interface. It doesn't have very much on it at all, and then we'll go ahead and create the code, which the code is actually pretty short as well. So all good things. So let's get started. We'll start Qt Designer up against this GUI template that we've been using pretty much the whole class. And I'll need to make this a little bit bigger since we're displaying all this data. And so we'll go ahead and put the tableView widget on here in the middle of our dialog. So if you look over here, we have item views and model based, and remember we're using a model to connect to our database. So our model is similar to a record set with Microsoft database technologies. So we're going to, since we're using a model, we want a model based table view, not to be confused with a table widget. We want a table view. So I'm going to go ahead and put that over here, and I'm going to resize that thing where it pretty much takes up my my whole dialog. Okay, so that we have plenty of room to see stuff in our database. So I've got that on there, and you can see that it named it table view, and it's a Q table view. So that's really, since this is the only table view we're going to have pretty much on our dialog here, there's not much point in changing the name of that. So we can just leave that like it is. And we're going to need two other push buttons to fully kick the tires on the way this works. So I'm going to have a push button add and a push button delete. So let's go ahead and rename these. We'll make this first one push button add. Triple click in there till I get the vertical bar and then ADD. And we'll go ahead and change our text on that. Ampersand to give us a keyboard shortcut. And we can resize it a little bit. Okay. And this one is going to be push button delete. So I'm triple clicking in there. And I've made that push button. We'll just go ahead and keep it short, DEL. Or do you want to make it long? It's up to you. We'll leave it short. So, going to hit enter. So that's saved. And going to change the text on my push button to be ampersand DEL ETE. So we've got an add, we've got a delete, and we've got an exit push button. We'll save our user interface file as QtSql tableView editable. How's that? Qt underscore SQL underscore editable. TableView. QtSql underscore tableView underscore editable dot UI. Okay, save that. So we should have that QtSql tableView editable out there. And I'll close this and reopen it just to make sure that all my changes are there, and it looks like they stuck, so we can minimize that. We'll go ahead and open up this GUI template with Tani, and we'll save it as pretty much the same name, QtSql tableView editable, and save that in the right place here. Let's get that over to our flash drive. Okay, QtSql tableView editable.py. Alright, we need to change our user interface file. And once we've saved this, we probably should run it just to make sure that we get what we are expecting. And it looks like I need to add another import here for the Qt enable high DPI scaling. We'll take those out for right now and run this again. There we go. Okay, so we know that our user interface file is being picked up by Python and it's able to display it. We haven't connected anything yet, but we're good to go with the rest of the program. So we'll need to add some additional imports here at the top, and we can go ahead and do those right now from PyQt5 PyQt5 import Qt core and QtSql, and we're going to use the built-in message box rather than the extra library that I created. So we'll just use the Q message box, And we've got import load high. Looks like everything's there. All right, so first thing we need to do is create our connection. And our connection is done pretty much the same as we've been doing. So we can go ahead and just do our connection right here in our constructor. So self.connection equals QtSql dot QtSql database dot add database, and we need to tell it we're working with a QtSql or just SQLite database. All right, we've got that. Self.connection.set database name. This is the one that we've been using as our demo. Python SQLite.db, that's got our projects and our task tables in it. So next we'll check to see if this connection actually worked. Okay. We'll show a critical message box. This would normally be the parent window. So if you had a form and you wanted this to display with that as part of the parent, you could actually pass self to it right here if you wanted to. So we want it to be an application modal, so we won't pass self to it. Cannot open database. This is our title to the message box, and then we can stop with that right there. So if you wanted to put an extra line in there, you certainly can, to give them more to go on. So that's our message box. And let's see, we need one more thing there. We need to pass the button. That's the buttons that we are allowing in the message box. And then obviously if we're in here, we probably want to just go ahead and end the program. This is the way we can end that Qt application right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and hook our model up. Self.model, we'll create one. QtSql.QtSql table model. So what we're going to do here is just hook to an entire table. So This is going to be editable. If you wanted this to be read-only, you could use the QtSql query model instead. Okay, so self.initialize model. We have not written this yet, so we'll need to go create our model. So we can do that next, our initialize model code. So let's go ahead and just write that before we get too far along here. Initialize. Remember, we got to pass self to it. Set table, we're going to work with the projects table here in our little table view. Okay. Edit strategy. We worked with this before. FIELD on field change. Okay, so what this is saying is that we want our changes to take place as the items are changed in our little table view. So basically a live connection that's gonna update things in place. So let's go ahead and select our data so that our model gets some data into it. If you leave this out, then you wouldn't have any rows in your model. Okay, so we've selected some data. And then really we would be done at this point, except that I wanted to show you how to put some column headings in our table. If you look here in our table view, if we didn't do this step that we're fixing to do, we wouldn't have any columns here at the top. So we're going to go put those columns in there so that we've got that in place. Get back to Tawny here. Okay, so we're going to just create some column headings here. And you do that with the self.model.setHeaderData. And the number here, 0, is the first column on the left. So this is what's going to show in that column. ID is the first one for the first column. And this is just saying that we want it to be a horizontal across the page. And since we've got this all correct at this point, we can copy this and just change the text a couple times. So here we go. I think we got 4 things there, so let's go about changing this. This is the next column, and we'll make that have project name, slash description. This next one, we'll go ahead and just change all these numbers. Okay, this next one is going to have begin date. Just making a match up with what's showing in the database. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, ID, project name, begin date, end date. So at this point, I think we're good with initializing our model. So we can go back up here and keep writing code in our constructor. So we've called our initialize model. Now we need to create a view. And the view, you notice it said table view. So this view is actually what we are going to use to control that table view. So self.view equals self.createView. That creates our view to drive our table view. And let's go ahead and make it view 1. Self.view1.clicked.connect. Now, this, in our particular program, this is really not doing anything, but I'm going to put it in here just so you can see what it looks like. And we will go write this FindRow, where you would use this clicked on the view and FindRow. If you wanted the person to be able to click into your grid there and select a row to maybe bring up more information about that row, then you could do it with this by connecting this to this FindRow, which actually when the table view is clicked, Qt will actually pass the row ID of the row that was clicked, so you know which row in there has been clicked, and can use that then to bring up more information about that row. And we'll go ahead and write this method just so you can see what it looks like. It's just a one-liner. FindRow self, and here's the one thing that it gets. It gets this, I'm just calling it I, but it actually, that is the row number, the current index row number in that table view that was clicked. Okay, so we're going to save that in a variable called delete row, but we're really not using it for anything. So I can up here, I can go ahead and create that variable just so that it's there, but we're not really doing anything with it. Okay, so like I said, this is just going to pick up which row was clicked in the table view, and we could use this to do something later on if we wanted to. So we've got it now, whether we decide to use it or not. Okay, let's go ahead and connect up our other push buttons. So self.ui.push button add.clicked.connect, and we can connect that to our add row method. Okay, and we can go down here and write our add row method. Okay, so this is just gonna, when we insert a row, it actually returns the row ID that was inserted. We're not really using it here, but you could use it for something. I'll just capture it so you can see. So let's talk about what we just did here. Self.model.insert rows. Okay, and what we're doing here is we're getting the count of rows. This is the spot where we're going to insert it. So that's going to be at the end of at the bottom of the grid. Okay, because this is how many rows are in our table view or grid. Okay, and this is saying insert one row. So at this point, we've got our model. Connected. We've got an add button. Let's save this and see if we can get this to work for us. So it's saying initialize model doesn't exist. So let's see if I spelled that right. INITIALIZE, initialize model. Looks like it's there. Oh, left out an I. Okay, that'll do it to you every time. And let's see what else. My S is not capitalized, so I can click that and fix that right there. Okay, so you saw how I clicked the blue underline to go up, have it take me right to the error. So let's see what else here. So it's saying, oh, left out the L in model. That's not good. Okay. And CreateView. Let's see, where is that? Self.view1.createView. Let's see. We haven't written that yet, so we're going to need to do it. So let's go ahead and add that method here before we go on. That definitely, if we don't have a method to create the view, then we're not gonna, this is not gonna work, that's for sure. Okay, so that's just creating a view. And then we're going to set that view to our model that we've created. Now I'm going to go ahead and set the column width for our for column number 1 here. You see this has got project name and description in it. I'm going to set that width so that it's wider than the other columns, because we're going to be typing more information in there potentially. That column needs to be wider than some of the others. So set column width will let us do that. This is the column that we're messing with, and this is how many pixels we want it to be. So I'm setting that column width to 450 and then return view. So now that we've got this method written here, when it's called right here, when we call it self.createView, it's going to return the view that it created to us, and we'll store it in self.view1. You can see we're returning the view down there. So we'll save this, we'll clear our shell, and we'll try this again. And there's our table view. Doesn't have anything in it. Let's see if we can figure out how to get some data in there. So we have it connected to Python SQLite.db. Do we have that database in our folder with this program? No, we don't. So if we don't have a database, we're not going to get any information. So let's go download that database. So right here's the database in the module 6 and this lecture on displaying data with the table view. So we'll go ahead and right click that, save the link down, and I'm going to save that into my same exact folder with my code for my table view. So right here, looks like it's there. Yeah, should be there. Let's see if we can figure out why this is not working. We'll try it one more time. We're not getting a connect message, that's for sure. There they are. Guess I had an empty database or something. So now that we've got that saved down, you can see that it does open up, and if there were more rows than what would fit here, we'd have a scroll. Now when I click this add button, we should get an extra row down here on the end. So let's just try it. You see how it's got the star there? That's our new row. And so we can add that in right here. Project 4. Table view. And this is, we'll just make it today's date. And have it end, actually it's not the 10th, it's the 18th. We'll have it end on the 19th. When we click off of this row now, until we click off of this row, it is not saved. That's what that little asterisk means, is we have a row here. It's not saved until you click off of it. That's something important to teach your users. If you're going to give them something like this, is they need to know that this row right here is not saved until they click off of it. Did you notice how when I clicked off of it, it went away? The asterisk went away and it gave it a 4 there. So now that's saved in our database. If we open it up again, you'll see it's there. Okay? So we're almost done here. We've only got one more thing to write, and that is our delete So we need to go ahead and hook that delete button up. Remember, it was just named DEL. We go back and look here. You can see there's what we're hooking up. Push button delete. So DEL. Okay. So clicked dot connect self dot delete row. How's that? Okay, down here we'll add our last method, and it's going to be short. Okay, so one liner. Self.model.remove row. Gotta capitalize the R. Okay. Self.view1.current index and dot row. So this is what this is saying is, it's saying get me whatever the current row's index is and get me the row for that. Once we've got this, we're going to pass that to the remove row, and it's gone at that point. So we've hooked this up already to our push button delete. This is how you can get rid of the row that's in your model. Now, this is going to be whatever row is the current row, so make sure that, you know, whatever you're wanting to delete, that you're on that. You have to have that row selected. So let's try it out. Unexpected argument int. Let's see, what did I do here? Current index self.view1 remove row, and let's see, current index dot row remove row. Looks right to me. Let's see what it's barking about here. Oh, okay. So delete row self.ui.push button delete .clicked.connect. Did we give it any additional method here? No? Okay. We got FindRow. Oh, right here. Right here. We need to change that to something else up at our top, up at the top where we created that. Let's go ahead and get rid of this line right here and see if that fixes it. Okay. So, we've got this, remember I said in order to delete the row, we need to have it selected. So I think this will probably, there is no current index right now. So if I hit delete, you see it's not doing anything. Okay. So let's click one. I selected this one that we just inserted, and I'm gonna try to remove it, and you can see it's gone. It's marked there as gone. So if we exit and then we start this back, you'll see it's gone. So that's the table view. Remember to get rid of that line there. I'm not sure why it does. I guess it's taken the name of this. We probably needed to have it named a different name or something. But we didn't. You can see we didn't use this at all anyway. So right now we've got this. If we wanted to use that for some reason to maybe this find row right here, instead of sending it to the delete row, we could send it to something else, but to maybe display some information additionally about that row. But in this case, we're using the clicked method to get the current index and delete that. So I could actually, I think, delete or comment out this whole method right here, and you would see that our program would still work. Let's see, I need to comment out where we're connecting it here, the find row. But once I comment that out, you can see here's our, and let's just show you that, bam, you can still delete it. So what could we do with this clicked? If you wanted to pop a or print out just to see what it's capturing for you when we have that in there, let's go ahead and connect it back. So find row, we've uncommented that, and we'll uncomment this. Instead of sending it to the delete row, let's do this. Let's just print it. Print. You clicked I.row. Okay. Let's see what happens when we run that now. Okay. Did you see what it said down there? You clicked 1. Okay. So when I was in that right there, this is row ID 1 because it starts counting at 0. So you could see how you could use this find row method here that we wrote to figure out which row you're on and do something with that in your program. So that's the end of this video on how to create a data bound or data mapped table view, and they're really handy to let your users scroll through, delete, and add things to database. So good luck with this. I think your exam for Module 6 has got a simple little program for you to create that's very similar to this one to kick the tires on the table view. So have a good week.